Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside Upon Further Review, your weekly look at high school football across the Fort Wayne area from the SAC, NE8, ACAC, NECC, and you never know where else we might lead. I'm Eric Doot 𝚱𝚎𝚢𝚘 alongside the coach Shannon Griffith. We'll be talking for the next hour. And coach, good to see you again on another Wednesday night here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM, and anywhere you get video and audio podcasts.
Yeah, we're at the halfway point of the year. It's hard to believe that we've only got 5 weeks left in the, I guess you could say, regular season, first round of sectionals, however you want to put it. But it always amazes me how fast everything goes. And when you prepare like these kids and coaches do in a year-round capacity nowadays, it's all for about 8 to 10 weeks of playing time. It doesn't seem like it's never enough because of the time that they put into it. But that's where we're at. The conference races are starting to shake out in terms of who is in those slots and what each league is looking like in terms of what these next few weeks are going to, pan out in terms of the top games. So it's a fun time of the year as we approach the first of fall coming up here this week. And, we're ready to go into the month of October here shortly.
Absolutely. Conference race is highly, underway now at this point. And a big one we had on Friday night up in Kendallville with East Noble and Leo, and a really solid game. It turned out to be a lot of points scored. Ultimately, East Noble gets the big win. They kind of run away with it at the end, but really strong showing, I think, from both teams, but East Noble in particular. We continue to see week after week what they're able to do.
Yeah, it was a ball game that was 28-7 at halftime, and Leo put it, poured it on. They just got too far out in front of them because Leo made a heck of a bid to come from behind and ends up 56-40. But look, Riley Biddle, what can you say? The kid's threw 304 yards, 12-17. Austin Phillips is going to be a big-time player in Northeast Indiana that probably going to get recruited pretty heavily because of his size and stature. I don't think he's a tailback at the next level. I think he's a linebacker type of guy. But he had 14 carries for 158 yards. The one was a 93-yarder that he busted away on. So, and look, in a losing battle, Nathan Foster, I mean, that kid played his heart out. He had 252 yards rushing, and add to that Titus Stoller, 14 of 18 on the night. And he's what gave him a chance. I mean, his ability to go out there and make high completions, because he completed 78%. And, he had a good days of work. They just got too far behind on the early part of the ball game, and, big plays again, they'll kill you every time.
Yeah, high scoring affair, 96 total points in this game, 56-40, East Noble wins. And just, yardage and big plays. Doing my math here, 559 yards of offense for East Noble, 486 for Leo. It was a long night up at Kendallville, but a fun night. Leo gets the big win. And just, Austin Phillips, we talked about, I saw him first time this summer as an 8th grader coming into his freshman year. And we saw him at the PSM 7-on-7. I thought, okay, who's this guy, first of all? And then second of all, this kid's going to be good. And then last Friday night, I should say, I felt like it, in a lot of ways, he just took this next step, and it was incredible to watch, and so fast, so big, can play on both sides of the ball. He's going to be a fun one to watch for the next couple of years. So East Noble gets the win and takes sole possession of first place now in the NE8, and a lot of games to be played there too, but East Noble definitely a team to beat now in the NE8, but and a lot of exciting other games in the area that we'll talk about later on tonight throughout the game in the SAC and the NE8. I think DeKalb getting a big win. We saw Northrop rebound. We saw Dwanger with a big win over
Mhm.
Homestead to keep rolling there. So a lot of things to talk about tonight. And we got an exciting show tonight, too, with a couple guests coming on. In just a little bit, we'll be joined by Ryan Robertson, the new head coach for DeKalb. Later on, Maddox Weil, the wide receiver from Northrop. So a full show tonight, and looking forward to touching base with them and all of that. But yeah, really exciting Friday night, and it's really shaping up some conference races now. And really, the NE8 is showing, Coach, nowhere, they're in the mix for really being a really strong conference across the state.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that, the season's over for those teams that maybe have lost. I mean, East Noble has the tiebreaker in hand if they would happen to stumble along the way. But I think there's a lot of parity within the top 3 teams in that league, with it being DeKalb, East Noble, and Leo.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's going to be a great game to see whenever DeKalb and Leo face off, because that's going to be a huge game.
That's coming up too. And like we mentioned just a few minutes ago, we have our first guest on here tonight. We're thrilled to be joined by him and welcome him. First time that we've been able to have him on the air. And really, I think first time we've had DeKalb on the air. We're pleased to be joined now by the new head coach of the DeKalb Barons, Ryan Robertson. Coach, thanks for joining us here tonight on Upon Further Review.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a new team for you this year. You come over from East Noble. Yeah, you know how talented that group is. Taking over the DeKalb job, first couple weeks in now, week through 6. You got a big win over Columbia City on Friday night. Just talk to me your first season as a head coach and what you're seeing out of your DeKalb, and just what the big win on Friday night, and just how you got things starting to roll down up there in Waterloo.
Yeah, I would say been pretty crazy. Just probably last week did I really feel like my head was above water since I got over here. I was lucky enough to get over here in the end of February. So they were able to bring me over mid-year, which helped quite a bit to be able to learn the kids and know the kids and start to get in the weight room with them and do some off-season stuff. So that helped quite a bit. I would definitely say the first meeting with the seniors in the locker room, that was an experience that I never really anticipated, or nothing could prepare you for that. So that's a pretty cool moment that I'll cherish for the rest of my life, is looking at a group of kids who at the time hate your guts because you're coming from one of their rivals. So that was a really weird, everybody looking at you with a really weird face because they've seen you on the other sidelines for so many years, and now you're their leader. So it took a while to build that relationship. And I mean, that's what I started with, was just every day showing the kids the type of person I am, the type of coach that they have, and just let them see me on a day-to-day basis, and then just slowly build and build and build and build and build. I would say we changed a lot of what they did in the off season over the summer, how they practiced, when they practiced, what we did. We were lucky enough to go scrimmage Homestead at Shrine for a good couple of days, and they've got a really incredible defense and a really good offense. So it was a big eye opener for our kids, but we were lucky enough to do that. And then we only had, they graduated quite a bit too. We only had 3 kids on the defensive side of the ball with varsity experience.
Wow.
And 4 kids on the offensive side of the ball. We replaced the entire offensive line, the entire defensive line, both inside backers, running back, quarterback, top few receivers. So that's kind of where you see that Angola loss at the beginning of the year. I mean, we had about 4 kids on the field with varsity experience. And so the biggest thing that we've pushed as a coaching staff was just trust what we're doing, trust the process, just keep getting better and better and better and better. And if you would have saw what we rolled out there in the first week of the summer to what we're rolling out there now, you guys would be shocked. So a lot of really good growth has happened, and the kids are buying into what we're doing. And it showed Friday night with a massive win over Columbia City, a team that they haven't beaten in 6 years. And last year gave up 60 points to. So last year's score was 60-14 at home on homecoming. So I mean, it's it's been a massive turnaround.
Yeah. Why this job for you? You're longtime assistant at East Noble. Why was the DeKalb opening comes up? Why was the move to DeKalb the right time for you in your football career as a coach to become head coach of the DeKalb Barons?
Honestly, when I first started coaching high school football, it was never a dream of mine to be a head coach. Like, it was never a thought process ever. I went back to East Noble and I just wanted to coach and love on kids, and it just kept growing and kept growing and kept growing. And my wife and I are from this area. We both graduated from the same high school. We dated in high school. We've dated ever since. We live on family land, and so I would never move away for a head coaching job. But I mean, Depew had been at Garrett forever. Pete Kemp was at DeKalb, and then Seth got the DeKalb job. So I mean, all these nearby jobs have been pretty full for a while. And once it opened up, it's not really that big of a drive difference from East Noble to where I'm at in Waterloo. And a lot of people pushed me to just go out and see what I could do, see if I could get the job. And I know what I'm capable. I mean, I've been around it. We've had success at East Noble. I mean, I was a massive part of that. They're still doing great things without me. They'll be just fine without me. But I helped build that program into where it was, and now I just I want to bring that to the kids in Waterloo and the kids at DeKalb. Just give them something to be proud of as well. So that was my main focus of applying for the job and going after the job. We played against these kids for 13 years. I mean, they've always had really good talent. They've had really good kids. They've had really good players that have gone on and played college ball. And I wanted them to get a piece of success. And they're starting to see that. And I mean, when you give a bunch of kids that haven't really had a ton of success, I mean, they'll eat out of the palm of your hand. Like, we got kids ready to come to practice every single day and get better because they see what they do is transition to Friday night. And I mean, they're buying in massive.
Yeah, Coach, looking at this week coming up now, you got Huntington North on the schedule, so it doesn't slow down for you. But talk a little bit about the game against East Noble, because that in itself was a kind of what we call probably an instant classic of a game, because I don't think many would probably say gave you probably much of a shot in that ball game, but you guys turned it into a 4-quarter ball game, and we know how dynamic Biddle is. But talk about that game and what you learned from that game, coming out of that game, that even though it was a loss, in some ways your kids kind of realized that they can play with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, there was a 0-0 ball game at halftime. I don't know if many people knew that. It was 0-0 at halftime. And what I've always told kids is whatever your next level of winning is really hard. And so DeKalb hasn't beaten what they say, quote unquote, big three, Leo, Columbia City, or East Noble in the last 6 years. One of those three they haven't beaten in 6 years. And so to get to that next level, I think is a really hard thing for kids to see and kids to do, whatever that next level of winning is. And when we went into halftime 0-0, they started to gain a little confidence. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh man, maybe we can do this. We come out in the third quarter, East Noble scores twice and makes it a 13-0 ball game. And what traditionally DeKalb has done in the past is they would have given up at that point. I mean, that would have been okay. East Noble's got us. The game's over. We ended up driving down 93 yards. We got a fourth down stop. We stopped them on fourth down. 3 of their 4 fourth down attempts, we stopped. We stopped them on a fourth down in the red zone. We drove 97 yards or 96 yards, somewhere in there, to get our first touchdown. Got the onside kick. We're right down. Sophomore quarterback had to come in the game because our starting quarterback lost his helmet. He threw a touchdown pass with a minute left to take the lead, 14-13. So we had the lead with 50 seconds left to go in the game. We kicked the extra point to take the lead, and one of our kids gets a personal foul for taunting, and which moves the best quarterback, in my opinion, the state of Indiana, Riley Biddle, that much closer. And so we were so close, but for the team to what we walk away from that is to win football games of that magnitude, you cannot make mistakes.
Mhm.
And I don't blame that. I don't blame that foul for the whole thing, because the kid that did it, if he's not on the field for us, it's a 40-point ball game. So I don't hold that against anybody. But what you as a team have to understand is, to win a game of that magnitude, you can't have any mistakes. And so that was a big learning curve for us as a
Mhm.
program. And we took that into Columbia City. I mean, you go East Noble one week, right into Columbia City the next week. That's a really hard back to back. And as a first year head coach, that's a scary back to back, because how do your kids recover from a game of that magnitude where they thought they were going to win, but they didn't do enough to win, into a game of a Columbia City team who runs a crazy style of offense that you got to figure out how to stop, and you gave up 60 points the year before. So just, yeah, lots of little things to learn. Every single game, there's 2 or 3 things we can pick up that the kids have never faced that we learn from.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games. What I always say, don't let the last game beat you the next week, because those are the type of games when you lose a close one can have a hangover effect, and you go into a game where you should win, and you find out that because of last week's loss, it's still lingering in the minds and heads of your kids, and next thing you know, you're kind of swimming up the stream against the current. But again, another good win there against Columbia City, a good defensive performance. I mean, when I look at your statistics and stuff, you got a bunch of kids that are contributing, especially offensively speaking. I mean, your quarterback's a senior, McCormick, but Caller is kind of been your go-to guy in the backfield, and Bell at receiver, and Spears. So talk about some of those kids that have, they're seniors. They've taken the mantle of leadership and setting a different path forward. Talk about their play thus far.
Yeah, and all of those guys kind of have a different role. Xavier Bell has started since he was a freshman, so he's been around forever. He's incredible. He does everything right for us. He has the highest football IQ on the team. You can put him anywhere, and he knows exactly what to do. He was the head coach for the Powder Puff team for the girls at our homecoming, and he was losing his mind trying to tell them what to do. And I go, now you know how we feel from a day-to-day basis, just because he is so football smart. But he's started since he was a freshman. He's earning everything that is coming to him this year with yards and catches and touchdowns, and where he's at in the conference. I think he's in the top 3 in receiving yards in the conference. Same thing with Spears. Spears doesn't even know how good he is. And one of his things he put on his senior paper was he wanted his first varsity touchdown was this year as a senior. And he said, I just want to score a touchdown. And I kind of told him, I was like, dude, I don't think you realize how good of a receiver. I want you to score a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah.
And so he has stepped into a much, much more important role on both sides of the ball. We can spell Bell at corner. Spears can't come off the field. He's that important to us on both sides of the ball. So they both have taken on massive roles. And then Eli is really getting his first chance at quarterback this year. He got a few minutes during blowout games last year, but never really got the opportunity to show what he could do. And that first game against Angola, he really lacked confidence. And going into the East Noble game, I said, buddy, if you just don't turn the ball over, you're going to give us a chance to compete in that game. And he did not turn the ball over one time in the East Noble game. And essentially, he gave us a chance to win that game with that. And that's game number 4 of his quarterback career, and goes out against one of the best defenses in the state and doesn't have a turnover. And then he only had 1 turnover this last week against Columbia City, which essentially was a interception in the end zone. So that's not a terrible one. So he's really taking care of the ball, and he can sling it. And so now his whole offensive line's brand new. We graduated five offensive linemen last year. So every dude that's standing in front of him is new or newer to playing offensive line. And so now that they're all comfortable, he's got a lot of moxie that wants to stand in the pocket, and he's the leader of our program. Those 3 guys when I ask what color pants we're wearing, those are the guys I go to. Hey, what are we wearing this Friday? Because they make decisions on what we do with this program, and if we're going to live and die, I'm going to live and die in whatever Bell wants us to wear. So.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a fun couple of weeks to see you as you come in. A lot of the coaches came with you from East Noble. I noticed in some of the highlights that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. So it's been exciting to see kind of this excitement in Waterloo at DeKalb. And we appreciate you coming on tonight to take some time to talk with us about your coaching journey and your team. And best of luck to you and the Barons the rest of the way.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Anything you need, let me know. Thanks, guys.
All right.
All right, Coach. Good luck.
That was Ryan Robertson, the new head coach at DeKalb. And Coach, man, that experience, you have been a head coach at the college level. When you walk in that room for the first time and meet those guys that have no idea who you are, except maybe a little bit, what is that first meeting like? What goes into trying to win the room over before anybody else?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and I think even Ryan may have said it, there's a lot of eyes looking at him cross-eyed because he's coming over from their natural rival. But at the same time, those kids are thinking, well, they look at all the success that East Noble has, and now we're going to get a coach from there. All of a sudden now that perks their interest because here's a guy that has won and knows how to win. And that's the key component, is that he's got a plan. He's got he's got a discipline plan that he wants to run and how to run a program. And those kids have fallen in line. And the best thing that reinforces that is winning. And even like I said on that question about the DeKalb East Noble game, they lose a heartbreaker, but at the same time, even though that loss is in the loss column, in some ways you win because that shows you some teachable lessons about how close you are and how hard it is to win. It's the slightest difference in every ball game that there's always something that's going to tip the scale one way or the other. The kid gets that penalty. Not that it's saying that, like he said, he's not going to hold it against the kid. It's the kid was excited because they scored a touchdown and went up on their rival. But unfortunately, it got him a 15-yard penalty because of unsportsmanlike conduct. And when you lessen the field for an opposing offense with Riley Biddle standing across from you, those are the things you can't do. And that's that razor thin margin. So he's done a great job. And, like I said, he's got an offense that I think is a dynamic offense by the way they're spreading the ball around.
Yeah, DeKalb averaging 23 points a game so far on offense, and defense-wise, only giving up 13.8, 3-2 now overall, and just sitting at 2-1. A log jam there with three teams at 2-1, DeKalb being one of them. They beat Columbia City, Huntington North, also beat Columbia City. So those three teams, Leo, DeKalb, Huntington, right behind East Noble, sitting at 3-0. Well, that'll take us to our first break here and Upon Further Review tonight. When we come back, we'll move over to the SAC. Some exciting play we saw on Friday. We have a big guest coming up, Maddox Weil from the Northrop Bruins. He'll be on here next with us here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. Stick around for more Upon Further Review. Okay.
Welcome back to Upon Further Review here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM, as well as all our friends listening out there on any and every podcast platform you can find us, or YouTube, including X and Facebook. So welcome to the Wednesday night show here. It's been crazy 5 weeks with a lot of different jockeying around in the different conferences, and there's one that probably has been the most crazy, and that's the Summit Athletic Conference this past weekend. And both the A and B division, the B division, they had a classic 2 overtime game. Bishop Lures upsets Northside in a classic ball game at Lures Field. We're going to talk a little more about that here in a second, but that is a huge win for Bishop Lures when you look at it from how good Northside was playing. And then you switch over to the A division, and we've seen everything and anything this year in that, from Homestead to Northrop's resurgence. They lost a tough battle a week ago in OT at Homestead, but come back this week, get back on the winning ways. And Eric, it just goes to show you, I think there's even more parity in the Summit Athletic Conference this year.
Yeah, and I think this is a result, and I keep saying it, but I think we're really starting to see it where the schedule benefits having highly competitive games and not runaway, conference races. And here we are, week 6, and when you look at the SAC standings, in reality, I mean, there's, Dwenger is undefeated in conference at 3-0, but then everybody else in the A division is 2-1. You have Lures sitting at 2-1 in the B division. And then, a couple 1 and 2 teams and the B division it kind of is that way. But I think it allows for more competitive games like we saw on Friday night, like we saw 2 weeks ago with Homestead and Northrop, Dwenger and Carroll, Snyder and Lures with even if they're field goal fest, we're seeing some competitive games. And I think in that regard, so far, I really do like that schedule breakdown. And one of the big teams, that the surprise teams in the entire state of Indiana, has to be those Northrop Bruins and what they've been able to accomplish. Best start since 2003 with their overall mark of 4-1, 2-1 in the SAC. And right now we're pleased to be joined by one of the standout players from that Northrop team, Maddox Weil, the wide receiver from Northrop, joining us tonight. Maddox, thanks for joining us tonight here on Upon Further Review.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk about this season. What, from the inside, everybody has seen it from the outside, and we talk about how wild and crazy it is, and one of the surprise stories in the state. How surprising is it to you guys in that locker room what Northrop has been able to do this season?
I think talent has been there. I think, going into the season, we knew that we could do what we're doing so far. And then I think we all believe that we can be even better. But I think we all knew if we just changed a little bit, of things and, became more disciplined, everything like that, our season would be like how it is right now.
Sure. What was the off season like for this team? Because I think a lot of times that can really, you can kind of start to get the sensor on where things might be heading this year. What was there a point this off season or in the off season, in the spring with, in the weight room or something, that finally it feels like everything clicked? Because this is just something different that we're not used to seeing out of Northrop. And what was it about this off season, especially with so many of the guys that were there a year ago? Now you guys are back and putting it all together.
Yeah, so at the start of the off season, I think we all just want to have a different season like this year, because last year it wasn't fun for any of us, and we all just decided to change our mentality, our mindsets, and everything, and just kind of just try our best to have a better season this season.
Sure. And quite a season it's been so far for you and so many different players. You guys have so many different playmakers. Highest scoring offense in the SAC. What you guys have been able to do, just talk about the makeup of this team and really what the emphasis has been as all these guys have kind of come together. Passing game wise, you guys just throw it all over. That has been a strength for this team. Just talk about the development and growth of this team the last couple of years, particularly in the passing game.
Yeah, so we obviously have a bunch of talented people. We have a whole bunch of weapons on offense and defense. So it really makes it a lot easier to just if you get the ball in your playmakers' hands and just let them make plays, it's just easier. So yeah, that's really it.
Sure.
Maddox, this is Coach Griffith, and full disclosure here, I'm a fellow Bruin, 1986, long time ago. Yeah. And glad to see you guys get to the point now where you're having fun and winning some ball games, because I know it's been a struggle over the last couple of years, and this year you guys have really come out of nowhere on fire. I know Coach Bowen was excited about the year when we talked to him back at the media day. And I want to step aside of the game of this. You're only a sophomore, correct?
Yes, sir.
You got a lot of Power 4 offers on the table right now, it would appear. Or, sometimes that could be just, talk on the outside. But where have you been to any games yet? Did you happen to go to the Indiana-Illinois game on a visit?
So whenever Ohio State and Texas played, I went to that game. And then yesterday I went to Notre Dame and Purdue.
Notre Dame and Purdue. Okay. And right now we've got you as having offers from Michigan, Penn State, Indiana, Miami, and then the 3 MAC schools there. Is that a fair listing of the offers that you have currently?
Yes, sir. I have those. And then also I have Bowling Green too.
You picked up Notre Dame.
Okay.
No, I said Bowling Green.
Bowling Green. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We got a little, well, who knows? You went to Notre Dame. I'm sure they've got their eyes on you at this point in time as well, because of you being just a sophomore. You're still a young pup in this equation. Has that put any more pressure on you to perform, because you now have these, you got Quay with all his offers that, he already decided that he's going to Ohio State. And now you're kind of that next guy in the room. Does that put a little more pressure on you to perform, or do you just kind of say, hey, it is what it is, and I just go play?
You think it would, but for me, I think I know what I can do, and I'm confident in my abilities. So I think, as long as I do what I should do, and I and know what I can do, that that there shouldn't be any pressure really. I shouldn't feel any pressure.
Yeah, well, I commend you for that, because you just need to go play Friday nights and let the other stuff take care of itself, as it will. And whenever you decide to make a college choice, you'll know when that time is right for you, and you'll have a great opportunity in front of you. We're watching some of your highlights here from Concordia. Did you guys feel like after you came off that tough loss at Homestead, was there any talk about not letting the previous game hang over your performance against Concordia, because on paper you guys were better than them, and you guys knew that you needed to play a great game, or because you didn't want to let that last game against Homestead enter the picture from last week?
Yeah. So I feel like we definitely should have beat Homestead last week, but just some other things I need to fix. And then coming in this week, we all kind of wanted to use that as fuel to to just have a better week of practice and everything, and just do better, and just ultimately win the game, and then keep doing better from here on out.
Well, it seems like you got a pretty good relationship with Callison in terms of rhythm and timing, as we've seen some of the actual throws and cuts and stuff. For you, this is really your true first year catching balls from him. Is that correct? Or did you get some last year?
I got some last year, but not nearly as much as this year.
Okay. Yeah. Would you say your guys' timing is pretty on point now that you guys have kind of meshed throughout the last, 4 or 5 months from the summer into now?
Yeah, definitely throughout the summer, and then just on into the season, it's definitely gonna a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're playing some great football, and I commend you and your teammates for having right now a good start to your year. You're at the midway point. There's a lot of football left, so who all knows what's going to happen, because you still got some tough games coming down the road here, right? And that's going to be the key component for you guys, is heading in the last part of the year, because you come up against a Bishop Dwenger team that is pretty darn good defensively. And then you got a 3-game gauntlet here. Let's just be honest. You go Dwenger, Snyder, and Carroll all in the next 3 weeks. So it's going to be a great challenge for you guys. How do you guys feel? How are you feeling going into these last few ball games of the year? You feeling pretty healthy?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty healthy, and I think we for sure can win all 3 games. Dwenger, they have a real good defense, so we just gotta find ways to score, and our defense has to, just do what they can do, and just all of us have to, stay level headed, don't get too high, don't get too low, no matter what happens, and just do our best to play this football.
And Dude, the last question, then I'll kick it over here. And October 3rd, They play the Snyder Panthers. Now, everybody knows Northrop and Snyder have shared Spooler Stadium for a multitude of years, and I was a part of that. Now my buddy is a part of that. This will be the last game at Spooler Stadium where Snyder is essentially the home team, even though it's Northrop Field, because Snyder's new field will possibly be ready by next season. How about that one? That could be an interesting battle coming up here.
We don't know about sectional draw yet either.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Well,
No,
I'm giving Doot some jabs here because he's a Snyder grad.
One. Well, really, that's the first time, and that. I mean, I think the conversation. Maybe this is the best way to pose the buzz around school. What's it been like to be at the Northrop games this year? Because I've seen some of the clips that some of the crews have been following you guys on social media and the Instagram pages, and it looks like it's a really good crowd and excitement we've just not seen at Northrop. What's it like to be part of that buzz and to kind of get things back and going for the Northrop Bruins?
It's obviously fun, winning more games. Like compared to last year, I had a lot more fun and everything as a team. And then, we all just try to, we all know that the job's not finished. We still want to keep on winning more games, don't losing more games. So, the hype might, keep going up if we keep on winning games. But we have to, just not try to get too distracted by that, because if you get too distracted by all that, it could render how you play. So just stay level headed and just, don't get too cocky or anything like that, and just, focus on winning football games.
Absolutely. Well, it's been tremendous to watch. No matter what school you came from or root for these days, to see what Northrop's been able to do this year. Lots of talent out there, and certainly caught a lot of attention across the state of Indiana. Thanks so much, Maddox, for joining us tonight. Best of luck to you and the rest of the Bruins on the rest of this season. And we'll be watching with close eye to see how the college recruitment process plays out for you as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks so much. That's Northrop wide receiver Maddox Weil joining us. And, you talked about it, Coach. I mean, here's a kid that, didn't catch as many balls last year, but has gotten really into that mix. And that Northrop 1-2 punch of Quay Guilford, who's committed to Ohio State, and Maddox Weil on the other side, who's got, like we mentioned, Penn State, Michigan, IU, Miami of Florida, and 4 MAC schools now after him. And Callison at quarterback, that is really just surged that Northrop team into what we're seeing this year.
Yeah, and Maddox got these offers this summer because of his camp performances, where he went to some one-day camps and performed. And that's the one thing I'll say to kids, in the summer months, you got to get to camps and go out there and learn from the best of the coaches and such. And who knows, you may find a situation like Maddox, and you may start finding that you're pretty darn good and they're going to recruit you. But again, I haven't had a chance to really study Maddox as a receiver yet, but it seems to me, watching those routes and such, he's a pretty smooth route runner. And Callison, we've talked about him forever. It seems like he is a really good quarterback, and he's getting time to throw the football. That's the key component. His offensive line has been really good in protection, and he's been really good on, throwing it to the receivers on time, as we saw in those couple highlights that you had. They're dangerous. You got Guilford, you got him, and some other guys on that team, especially on defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're a team that they get on a roll, and they may get to that point where they just get on a great roll and right through the sectionals and regionals. So they may be a big surprise here in a few months coming out of Fort Wayne, because they got a lot of talent.
Yeah. And they've been able to just string it all together. I mean, 36 points a game this season. They lead the SAC in scoring. They've put up 180 points total on the year, 108 in conference, just ahead of Carroll there. And then their defense has played well. We hear a lot about 𝚘𝚘𝚦 and Weil and Quay, but you think of guys like Donleray Reese Jr. And the defensive end with a long name that his dad played for Northrop about 20 years ago too. And my apologies, I can't even think of the name off the head, but he plays defensive end, tremendous in the backfield. And so many different playmakers on the field, and their running game has really been able to go. Not only just throwing Quay in as a wildcat runner, but just some of the different guys that have stepped up in the last couple of weeks to get another dimension of Northrop football going. I mean, you think of somebody like Jackson Robinson, another wide receiver there. Robert Rembert, the fourth, is a running total running back. On the defensive side, Cornelius Jackson and Lenny Underwood, and Elijah Collins, over 3 sacks each, and Davion Surrey, the transfer over in from Lures. So they have got playmakers all over the field on both sides of the ball, and in a case of just absolutely just impressive what this team has been able to do. And I think it just goes to show that, this era that we live in, you can get the right mix of kids in there, you can take things to a whole new level.
Yeah, and I'll say this weekend, the Northrop Dwenger game will be the biggest game in Fort Wayne Friday night. You've got two teams with Dwenger now in control of their own destiny, and a Northrop team that could put themselves right back into the mix with a big win on Friday night. Spooler Stadium's going to be packed. So if you're going to go to that game Friday night, you better get there early, because the contingent coming over from Dwenger and what we've seen from Northrop already, what you brought up about the student body and things of that nature, that game's going to be heavily attended, and there may be some college coaches at that ball game checking out the talent from both sides of the ball, because there's going to be a lot running around.
Yeah. 𝚘𝚑𝚎 𝚘𝚑𝚎. I just pulled up the name. I looked at here. I hopefully I'm saying that right. He's the defensive end. His dad played at Northrop. Wayne TV had a great story about that earlier this year, and it's amazing to see that. And I think that's what's cool about it too, is this is something nobody's seen for a while. And you just got to keep it rolling, because what happened to Northrop 2 weeks ago, the overtime loss to Homestead at Homestead, how are they going to respond? Because they've never been put in that situation. They come out and, it's Concordia, and Concordia has struggled 13 straight losses now, 19 straight in the SAC, 47-6 Northrop. And a lot of times those Concordia Northrop games, it was the opposite of that.
Yeah.
So I think, it was good. It's good to see they've got playmakers, all that, they're a 6A school. They're in the same sectional as Snyder and Carroll. Obviously we go through the regular season first, but they're putting it up. They're putting it up and seeing what they can do. And
they still got Carroll on their schedule. I mean,
in the regular season. Yeah.
And
they got the big boys yet, but they're in the big division. And I've said for years, and I stand by this, even in this season, I think Northrop should be in that B division and play. But this year they're able to play up, and it's been fun to watch for sure.
Well, it's one of those things too, that this game this Friday for them will be that test. Can they rise to the occasion again and be challenged by a pretty darn good Dwenger team that can pound you on the ground and put a lot of pressure on defensively, because we saw that against Carroll. Yeah. And so that's going to be the dynamic that will be interesting. Can they protect 𝚘𝚘𝚦 enough that he can get the ball out of his hands? Because it's going to have to get out of his hands quick. There's just too much pressure there. So
they grounded that Carroll offense, and Dwenger they're basically that film study looking at that Carroll game. What they did well is exactly what they're going to try to do again against Northrop, because it's that same pattern of offense, of high flying, deep balls and then hitting you with the running when they can. So it should be an interesting one out at Spooler Stadium between Bishop Dwenger and Northrop on Friday night. Well, Coach, we're up against another break here and Upon Further Review. When we come back, we'll look ahead to all the sorts of different games coming up this Friday night as we look at week 6. Stick around here on Upon Further Review right here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to Upon Further Review here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. I want to thank 1380 The Fan for allowing us to come on the airways here each Wednesday night at 7 o'clock during the football season. So very appreciative of that. And those that are joining us on other platforms, we appreciate your listening to Upon Further Review, your number one source for all things Northeast Indiana football as we head through the midpoint of the season. And Doot, we got some dandy games coming up this week, and it's time for us to kind of set the table for week 6 in the Summit City, as we've got the number one game this week for us is Snyder at Homestead, a game that, hey, is becoming a rivalry game, I guess you could say, in some respects, because of what those two teams do in terms of scrimmaging each other and really using each other as a barometer of where they're at in the summer. So that game has got an interesting tone to it for both squads as they head this last half of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for one, both of these two teams 2-1 in the conference. So,
right,
not out of it. Obviously, I think whoever takes the loss this weekend, and it could be said about a couple of these games, but whoever takes that loss there is probably, eliminated, so to speak, from the SAC contention. But yeah, I mean, you think about it, Snyder and Carroll, a rivalry that mostly played out in the early 2000s through the sectionals. I think of John Rockel's kick when I was in high school, and he beat Homestead and all of that, and so many different other times in there. Homestead in '98 beating Snyder at the sectional and then going on to the state finals, and that year with Reinhardt for Homestead against Rex Grossman from Bloomington. But anyway, yes, this has become a rivalry in part because this is part of the conference now. With SAC, 10 years ago, adding Homestead and Carroll, we get this every year. And I think this is another good one because I think both of these teams have, Snyder in particular is struggling this year. They just got walloped last week at Carroll at home, at Spooler against Carroll, 47-14. One of the worst regular season losses for Snyder and quite a long time. And so I think, trying to get back on the winning track there. And I think, we've seen some really big barn burner of a game between these two teams in last year. And I don't think, I think we can expect the same. The passing game for Homestead from Frieden to Carter Kennedy continues to look great. They're going to try to get back on track after kind of being shut down by Dwenger's defense a week ago. So can Snyder's secondary staying at that? And then Snyder, can they somehow find a way to get that running game going? That offensive line, still looking for that big jump for them. And so should be a fun one as our Midwest Box Breaks game of the week out at Homestead on Friday night. We'll be there with the PSM pregame show starting at 6, post-game show presented by Kester's, powered by Pizza Hut, immediately following the game out at the Coventry Pizza Hut. So it should be a fun one. And what will you look for in this game, Coach, as these two teams match up?
Well, I think this is these teams right now mindset is, to find ways to keep improving themselves on both sides of the ball, because right now their mindset is the sectionals, in that regard. Homestead, like I said, they still got a chance because they still, Dwenger could stumble at some point in time. You know what I mean? So there's some interesting situations that could happen in the A division as that from that point of view. And then Snyder, like you said, needs to find their rhythm here the last 3 weeks of the season, 4 weeks of the season. So that should be a big time game. Yeah. Looking at the next one is, like we've already said, is the Bishop Dwenger at Northrop, big time ball game there. And that's going to be Dwenger's defense against Northrop's offense. So probably same game plan for Bishop Dwenger as they had against Carroll. When you're facing a quarterback that can throw it, and you got 2 D1 receivers on the outside. So that's going to be a heck of a ball game.
One other note about that win for Dwenger a week ago over Homestead, 500th career win for Bishop Dwenger. 500 all-time wins now at Bishop Dwenger. Congrats to that school. A proud tradition of football, notching win number 500 last Friday. Over at Zollner Stadium, we'll have Bishop Luers and Concordia. Luers 2-1 now in the SAC in the B division, but all games count. So they are still in the hunt for believe it or not, this Luers team coach still in the hunt for an SAC title as they head to Zollner Stadium against us continuing to struggle cadet team.
Yeah, and we'll probably have to address, kind of the setup of how the Summit Athletic Conference Championship could look because of all the teams that could be involved in it when it comes to it. But again, Luers, they're going to need to play. They can't go into any game thinking that they're better than the person across from them. They got to go into every game thinking they're going to get a dogfight. And that's why they won Friday night against Northside. They came in there, they played their game, they found a way to win against an overly talented Northside team.
Yeah, absolutely. Luers now 2-1, putting up some points now too. That's crucial with their win. Southside at Carroll. I think this one is probably where most people expect this to head out at the Gorsuch Athletic Complex at Carroll High School. Carroll continues to roll. Bounced back a week ago over Snyder, huge win. Southside, though, notches their first win. But I think Carroll's going to be all over this one on Friday night.
Yeah, again, this is just another week that Carroll can work on the things they need to work on offensively, like running the football, finding a rhythm there that they can carry forward into the rest of the year.
Yeah, one quick note on Southside's win. Just wanted a quick shout out to Chris Moon Jr. Moonstruck on Friday night. He rushes for 309 yards in that game against Wayne, sets the all-time school record for single game rushing record, previously held by Lamar Smith, who went on to play in the NFL, a great talent in the 80s and late 80s at Southside, went on to play in the NFL. In fact, that playoff game, I think it was the first playoff game for Peyton Manning down in Miami, an AFC divisional game. I can't remember if it was his first, but Lamar Smith just ran all over the place in that game. That's something I remember about his career. But congratulations to Chris Moon, senior for Southside, setting that all-time record. Plus the punt yards, I think it was 369 yards of all-purpose yardage on Friday night. Just outstanding. So worth a mention here on Upon Further Review tonight. So we just wanted to throw that in there. And then moving on to some of these other games real quick. We have Wayne at Northside. Wayne reeling, Northside looking to bounce back. I think Northside probably gets on the winning track with all the playmakers they have.
Well, this is a game that you can't let the previous game against Bishop Luers, beat you again, because you're thinking about things that don't have any bearing on this game coming up. So yes, you would say so. But Wayne is that, had their struggles this year. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I think Malik Moore set the Northside receiving touchdown record, I think, last week or last couple weeks. So congrats to him too. Ben Johnson put something out about that. So records all over the place going down in the SAC. Moving over to the NE8, the marquee matchup there, a lot of games this week, but DeKalb heading to Huntington North. This one, new intrigue with the way these two teams have played the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, this is going to be a good test for DeKalb. Going on the road to Huntington North, who seems like they're getting bodies healthy, and they got a talent there in Linker. And that is another intriguing game Friday night.
Yeah, explosive plays. Linker's return for a touchdown on the kickoff completely changed that complex of that game with Huntington North and Columbia City. Columbia City let that hangover come into the previous week with DeKalb. DeKalb looking good on both sides of the ball and really offensively balanced offense. That should be a fun one. I would expect to see a shootout. That's what I'm going to say. I'm looking for a shootout there. And then we got the old barn burner down in Adams County in the ACAC. We have South Adams traveling to Adams Central. AC squeaks by, gets the win over Heritage 14-7. South Adams continues to put it up big numbers for them. This is one of those watch games where we talk about who's going to beat Adams Central. South Adams has what it takes, and they've shown that. Can they do it, Coach? What do you think down in Monroe?
Well, this one was the other one that I kind of had an asterisk by just because of Adams Central's struggles against Heritage, even though they came out and got a big win. And South Adams is a team that's kind of rolling right now, can throw the ball around and put big numbers up. And that's the thing that this game, intriguing wise, because it's a, right down the road matchup type of deal. So Adams Central's got some tests coming up. They got South Adams, and they still have Bluffton, I believe, on the schedule here. And it may be not in a couple weeks. So
yeah, they've got some
turf to defend, and they're going to have
sleep on those Southern Wells Raiders either. I mean,
how about them?
Okay, not really if you're Adams Central, but ultimately what they've been able to do. Second win already this season.
Yeah.
2 wins in conference. Southern Wells, we won't go too much into depth to them, but magnificent job what they've been able to do down there with head coach Blake Blaker, who played at Eastside and at St. Francis. Also looking at over in the NECC, the one that I put here on the schedule, Fremont at Busco, because both these teams undefeated in the small division. They only count divisional games. This may be the deciding game, perhaps, in a way, for the NECC small division as the Battle of the Eagles up in Turtletown.
Well, and, Busco, again, tradition program with football they've had. And, they've seen some ups and downs because of big class graduations. But, they do a good job there. And, hey, it's good to see a Fremont team coming in on fire as well. So, again, another great game within the Northeast Indiana footprint.
Yeah, Cameron Moreno, the running back there, 144 yards a game for Fremont. So, again, not a team we talk a whole heck of a lot about, but started off good, hit a little bit of a snag there lately, but still in the hunt for a conference title in the small division of the NECC. Busco looking to go back-to-back. I think there are some other small games on the schedule, but these two teams undefeated in that conference. And, of course, like we mentioned, Friday night, we'll be out at Homestead High School, Dave S. Walters Stadium for our 1380 The Fan Midwest Box Breaks high school football game of the week. We'll have our PSM high school football tailgate pregame show at 6 right inside the stadium there. Come on by and say hi to Coach and Jim Shovelin and myself. And then Brett Rump and Coach will have the call at 7 o'clock on 1380 The Fan 100.9 FM. Stick around, too, for the post-game show from the Coventry Pizza Hut. It's the Kester's post-game show powered by Pizza Hut after the game. What is it? 5 hours of coverage, 5 hours of football, Coach. It's every Friday night on 1380 The Fan 100.9 FM. And it should be another exciting Friday night as we get halfway through the regular season.
Yep, it's going to be interesting to see what we have on the back end of the schedule coming up, and it's going to be a dandy of a week in football around Northeast Indiana, so stay tuned. We'll have you covered next Wednesday night with all the statistics and scores of all the games, as well as guests here on Upon Further Review next Wednesday at 7 p.m. But for now, he's Eric Dukovich. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. You have been watching Upon Further Review right here on YouTube, Facebook, and then, of course, 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. Good night, everybody.